All right, so we must say, says the Rebbe. Now we're in Parshat Behar, in the Sikha in Sichot Kodesh of the Rebbe Hilek Aleph. So it must be that this commandment of the Shemitah year, as obscure as it is, and as limiting as it is, it's only in the land of Israel, and it's only for farmers, and it's only in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, existed, and it's only once every 7 years. But nevertheless, somehow or other, this is the example of a commandment. To the point that God says in this week's Torah reading, V'daber Hashem Moshe Behar Sinai, that God spoke from Mount Sinai, and he said, 6 years you should work, and the 7th day should be a Shemitah, a non-work year. And everybody asked, that's the only commandment he said on Mount Sinai? He said, all the commandments he said on Mount Sinai. Why did he pick this one? He says, but this one is the example of the commandment. It is general, you have to keep the Shemitah, and then it has all the details. It applies to the wheat, and it applies to the field, and it applies to your grain, and it applies... And there's all the details. The same as all the other commandments of the Torah were spoken general and also with the details. Says the Rebbe, but there's other commandments also. Why did he pick this commandment as an example of all the commandments? Why did God pick this commandment? So God knows what he's doing. There must be some sort of a very deep message contained in the commandment of Shemitah, of letting the land rest on the 7th year in the land of Israel, that isn't in any other commandment in the Torah, and somehow or other this commandment is the example of all the commandments. We'll see why. So maybe we can say, let's look at it like this. Either we can say that it says in the Torah, 6 years you should work on your land, and then the 7th year is rest. It doesn't mean that the 6 years are preparation for the 7th year, or maybe it means 6 years you work. That's the main thing, is the work, the 6 years. And in the 7th year, you have an added additional commandment that you rest. What's the main thing? Says the Rebbe. In Yanesh al Shemitah, or in Gimel, the main, let's say the property of Shchita, Lefi Pshuto Shel Davrim, simply, what is this whole, the identity of this commandment? Every commandment has its identity. Tefillin, strap on your arm, but your heart will be connected. Strap on your head, so your head will be connected. Tzitzit, you're encompassed by godliness. The mezuzah you put on your door to show your possessions belong to Hashem. What is the uniqueness of the message that comes out of Shemitah? The Shana Shvi'it, in the 7th year, Yeshabaton la'oretz, the earth will rest. Soadecha lo sees more, karmecha lo sees more. Sees ra lo karmecha lo sees more. Your field should not plant, and your grapes you should not, work on. The vines, don't work on the ground. Shabbaton mikol malachot adama. In other words, what do? You rest. You withhold from any work on the ground, any sort of agricultural work. Shebem nasa lechem, that with this is made bread and etc., which people live from. 1 second. Hey, this is not. Hey, okay, so we won't have fruits. We'll do without pears. We'll do without bananas. But it's not so easy to do without any grains whatsoever. You can't work on the ground. You can't grow rice. You can't grow wheat. That's serious. Wheat means there's no bread. And that's what the Torah continues and says, V'ki tomar, and if you say, Ma nochal, what are we going to eat on the year after the Shemitah? We didn't grow anything. Maybe on the Shemitah year we can eat them from the produce of the previous year. But the year afterwards, what are we going to eat? We didn't prepare anything. We didn't plant. Al-Ken, the Torah says, "V'tziviti et berachoti, v'asit et hatvua l'shlosh shanim." I'll make my blessing in the 6th year, and there'll be enough produce in the 6th year for 3 more years, for the year itself, for the year afterwards, and we'll see. But in any case, there'll be enough for the Shemitah year, and the year for the year after it also. According to some meanings, it means 3 years afterwards. The Shemitah year itself, when you're not planting, the year after that, when you're just starting to plant, and the year after that, which is not a full harvest. In any case, God says, don't worry about it. You do what I say, I'm going to provide plant. There'll be enough food in the 6th year. It's going to be enough for the 7th and the 8th and the 9th. Tochna Pnimi Shel Mitzvah Shemitah. What is the inner meaning of this commandment? True, all the commands we do because God told us to do it. God told us to do it. You don't ask questions. God tells you to do it. You do it. But in addition to that, God wants us as much as possible to identify with the commandments, to feel a partnership with the commandments, to feel some meaning in it. To enjoy it. It's like, telling a person to play golf and not telling them the laws, right? Telling a person to play baseball. You don't tell them the rules of baseball. You just stand up there, he throws a ball, you hit it, that's all. Right? Sometimes people are cheering, some people are angry, some people yell at him, he doesn't understand nothing. He just sits and he tries to hit this ball. The same thing, people, you do the commandments, you don't ask any questions. That's one way of doing it. Yes, that's okay. But it's not really okay because God wants you to be involved totally in serving Him. So what's the inner meaning of this commandment of letting the land rest for 1 year after 6 years of work? Yehudi nidrash achat lashana sheva shanim. A Jew is demanded once every 7 years, vipared mikol tzorechim artzim, to separate from all of his earthly needs. Not to have any occupation in working on the ground. Which is connected to bread, that this is the livelihood of man. Staple. So what are you supposed to do? Trust God. Trust God. He'll give you land. He'll give you food above nature. See where we are? You have the place, Herschel. Page 252? Yes, good. Ein zeh derech tamid. Don't do this all the time. You just sit back and let God provide for you. The majority of time, a Jew has to, you have to deal with the world. L'shem avodat habirurim. That the creation of the world was by the name of Elokim, which is Teva. God creates the world, but He creates what's called a lower name of His existence in order to hide over His essence. Kadesha Adam Yasok, so that a person should actually occupy himself according to the Torah and nature. Bishvil Zacham, in order to refine the world, to purify them. We've talked about this a lot of times. But the main purpose of man is in the world, is in order to fix up the world. But once in a while, once in a while a person has to reconnect to God, to go out from the world. True, you have to work in the world. Yes, that's why we're here. But once in a while, you have to get recharged. You have to recharge your batteries. Halicha bekivun shel hityatzvut lamayla mimenu. You have to connect to something that's above you. In other words, simple language, motivation. Right? You have to get motivation. A person can, and like in a football game, they have cheerleaders and the coach gives them a pep talk. And what do they need all that for? They're football players and they practice and they're playing their game. What do you have to have? Because a person has to be connected all the time. Right? Let's say, just give an example, he's playing football And he thinks, well, it's really getting hard here. It's really difficult. And the other team is really good, and we're losing. And we're there. And all of a sudden, like in the classic movies they had, you guys can do it. Do it for the sake of the old coach that just died, right? The Gipper or whatever it is, do it. And okay, and everybody gets out and they're all recharged. Lahavdil, right? Lahavdil. But here we're talking about the same thing. You work on your land 6 years, and you can start forgetting that really it all comes from God. Why are we working? Because God wants us to work. So 1 year you have to get readjusted. Like they how do they call it? They readjust the timing in your car. You have to go in for a 10,000 mile checkup and fix up the whole thing so that you realize why you're here in the world. You're not just here so that your crops will grow.
There's something special about being a farmer. I hope that this rain. Sure. Rain, put seeds in the ground. And as you grow, this is
right.
You hope it's not like other work. I mean, there's a lot of faith involved in being a farmer.
Well, listen, it depends. It's not so simple. It's not so simple. There's millions of farmers in the world that don't believe in anything, and they plant, and their seeds grow, right? There's 2 billion people in China, and almost the same amount in India, and they all eat noodles and rice and wheat and things like that. And obviously, it grows up. I don't know. I don't know if these people, they pray to God before they could be, and they do. I doubt it, but it could be. They pray to God before they put in the ground. It's very easy. Listen, it's like any other business. Any business you have to invest, and then you don't know what's the outcome is going to be. So you invest in hubcaps or you invest in the typewriters. You don't know if tomorrow the market is going to go up, if you're going to have competition, if all of a sudden somebody finds he's going to break a finger in one of your typewriters, and you don't know what's going to be in the future. And the people don't know what's going to. So there's 3 ways you can react to this. What? Me worry? Just let it go. Whatever happens, que sera, sera. Another way is idolatry. Idolatry. You burn incense. You look at the astrology books. You look at this. What's going to be? What should I do? Right. Then the other way is to believe in God. To believe in God. A person can believe in God and say, God help me. And God, the Rebbe has a beautiful sikh about that. That's the difference between a Jew and a non-Jew. A Jew is praying to God. Comes along 1 million non-Jews, and he goes to the great, farmers convention. And there's not mentioned a word about praying to God before you plant. And the Jew stands up, and you should pray to God before you plant. And everybody looks at him, who are you? I'm a Jewish farmer, I put out, 100,000 barrels of wheat every year. 100,000, what's 100,000 barrels of wheat a year? I put out 50 million. So he puts on 100 million. He doesn't believe in anything. Yeah. So what are you talking about? You have to believe in. Who said you have to believe in God? Where does that? We didn't learn that in agriculture school. So that's what the Rebbe says. The Rebbe is saying, Judaism comes to tell you, 6 years you work, but 1 year you connect to the Creator of the universe. That's the fact. You get any benefit from it? We don't know if you get benefit or not. That's not the name of the game over here. The name of the game is give God what His due. Nobody else does. There's millions, billions, whatever it is of farmers in the world, and they don't give any thanks to God whatsoever. At least one person will give thanks to God. Right? What do you care what everybody else does? At least one person, and that might make the whole thing worthwhile. Right? That God will say, one person giving me thanks, that's good enough. That's good enough. But that's what we do. Okay. But we did that. Okay, Dalin. Shnei dvarim elu taluyim zeh b'zeh. The fact that we have to work and the fact that we have to stop working and connect to God, they're connected. These 2 ideas depend one on the other. Halicha b'kivun shel hityatzvut b'darga na'alit shel olam. If a person really wants to get to the highest levels of awareness, Shavta Oretz, and put this into the land, that the earth should rest for God, we, and Shabbat comes along, we rest for God. What about the earth? Haya, Hova, V'yiyach Echad. God is past, present, and future at once. God is totally above this name of Elokim, which is the gematria of nature. This can come, Kach, Shamaga, Imoni Olam, Wal Pitora. This can only come. You want to come, get to the highest levels of awareness of God, Shemitah, being one with God. This can only come if you work in the world. If you want to be separate from the world, you're not going to get to the highest levels of awareness of what God is. You come to know that God can be out of the world. To see how God works in the world. Zu mashma'ud prat echad. This is the implication of what we said before. According to this, the 6 years that you work, hariperush tizra sadecha, means shebashad sadeh, that in the field, nishmarim, kol inyanim lefia shulchan aruch, that in your field you do everything according to what it says in the Torah, like kilayim, you don't plant two crops together, one next to the other, too close. And what is this? Kilayim, hachana, ubashan, that all the 6 days, they are just 6 years, are a preparation for the 7th. Right? The main thing is the 7th year, connect to God. But mashmul pradabreit, but like we said before, there's the second way of looking at it is ha'efsharut libirur. The only way that you can really refine the world comes only mitoch kach shemipam lapam, that once in a while mitromema adam, a person has to elevate himself in the service of God, shelo, in his service of God, ledarga ha'aliyas legamri olam. A person has to become higher than the world. According to the first way, is the main thing is the 7th year. But in order to get to that, you have to work in the world. When you work in the world, you start to realize God's miracles and God's presence and God's reality. Then in the world, you can come to properly do the 7th year. So in other words, the 7th year is the main thing, but you can only get to it by working in the world 6 years. Or the other way around. No. Oh, like it says in the second way. Ha'efsharut lebirur inyan olam. The only way that you can refine matters of the world, and that's the main thing. Not like the first way that the Shabbat was the main thing, and you can only get to it by working in the world. No, the main thing is to purify the world. And the only way you can get to that is ach varach mitoch kach shemipam lapam, that once in a while mitromem, a person has to elevate himself in the service of God, ladarga hanaili, to a level which is totally above the world. Oh, as then, harigan babo shu b'magam olam. Then when you come back and work in the world, oh, zubilvad, not only she'en nischaf al yado, that the world does not wipe you away. Ki'im adarab, of the exact opposite. Hosat olam, he makes the world itself into a vessel for Hashem. Kamor, like it says in Kuntres Eitz Chaim, one of the books that was written, pamphlets that was written by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's father, the 5th Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shalom Dovber, and he wrote pamphlets for the boys in Kfar Chabad, in the Yeshiva of Chabad that he founded. And it says, there's one that's called Kuntres Eitz Chaim, the pamphlet about the tree of life. He explains over there the importance of learning Chassidut. Shekadei liyot b'darga yichudit haTorah, in order that a Jew can get to this level of the lower unity, tefiyah derush chayev liyot, there has to be, oven klali at least, a feeling of yichudi Eloah. In order that a Jew can be, simply put, a Benoni, you have to have a little tiny appreciation of what it means to be a tzaddik. What is a Benoni? A Benoni is a person, that's this whole book that Tanya has written, that he serves God all the time, because once in a while when he's praying, he gets a flash of what the oneness of God is and the reality of God and how God creates us and how he loves us and cares for us. Once in a while he gets this flash. And that gives him an ability to do what we learned before, Kabbalat Ol, to serve God all the time in this field. But there has to be this elevation first. That's what it means. That's what it means. You should seed your field. This is the tachlit, seeding your field, working. That's the main thing. But you can't do it unless you have the hishtachrut me'olam. You have to have the Shemitah year that frees you from the world. Let's do one more. Betzora domeh. Similarly, yeshnom. There is also the Shabbat and Sheshim Yachol. Similarly, we have the same thing in a smaller way. We have the 6 days of creation, 6 days of working, and Shabbat. In the 6 days of the weekday, there is Birurim. In the 6 days of the week, there is what we call refining the world. Shesh Yamim Ta'avod. 6 days you have to work. But on Shabbos, you're not allowed to refine. Therefore, we can say, is Shabbat, for the reason we keep Shabbat is to give us inspiration and energy for the rest of the week? Or maybe we say, no, the working of the rest of the week is only that we should appreciate Shabbat. Therefore, it says by Shabbat, Vayachal Elokim, that God, we moved, Kol Elomot V'Shel Shem Elokim, all of the concealments of the name Elokim, shine the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is above nature. And therefore, what do we see? That it depends one on the other. On one hand, the 6 days of the week are there, so we should appreciate the holiness and the godliness of Shabbat. And that's the point of a Jew, is to recognize the greatness of God. Or maybe we say, no, the reason we have to recognize the greatness of God is only in order to work properly in the 6 days of the week, to put godliness into everything we do in the world. Which one is right? Both of them are. We'll keep the Shabbat that gives us energy to work in the world, and the working in the world that gives us some energy to appreciate Shabbat in a higher way, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Thank you very much.